Now here's an unexplained story. I can remember this as plain as day. Back in 1966, I was about 10 years old. And this happened just outside of Minisboro, Kentucky, right over from Powell Valley, back in a place called Tackett Creek, Valley Creek, Rock Creek, way back in these mountains. Now, when I was young, Mom would always send me to the store, since I was the oldest, to pick up some little things around the house here and there. Not every day, but every once in a while. So it was about a mile away down to the country store. A little store like this. Simple little store that had anything you needed back in the day. Nice people too working these stores. There was always a bunch of people in these stores. I always like to get in here after I get what Mom wanted. I like to look at the comic books. I was always looking at them. Just love looking at them. And I got to noticing all the time, some of these men, they'd be telling stories, and they get kind of loud sitting here talking. Well, I'd listen to one story while I was looking at these comic books, and he was talking about to his friend there that he hadn't been hunting in a while because he got too scared something bad happened. Well, anyway, around here, these people coon hunt all the time back then, and they still do today, but nothing like they did back then. And they pride themselves on these coon dogs. On a clear night, you could step out of the house back then and you could hear an old dog treed way off in these mountains. Now this area that I was talking about, this happened back in a place called Tackett Creek, way back in here, back in the head of back down Cumberland Mountain here, circled in black. Now, I worked this as I older when I got to become an adult in the mines back there. But I never seen nothing like this story I'm about to tell you. Well, anyway, he's saying that 4 of them one night loaded up their dogs in an old Jeep, packed in there plumb full, they barely could move, he said, and headed up Fork Ridge towards Tackett Creek, across the mountain. Got on these old logging strip roads back in here and went for miles back in there on top of these old ridges. It's a lot of country. And it's rough getting back in there too in these old Jeeps back then. It still is today. There's a lot of country back in there. It's wilderness, I'm telling you. And they'd get across top of these Jeeps when they let their dogs out and ride top of these ridges and listen to the dogs tree. Well, they'd hear one tree down in a holler there, and they'd drive around top of the ridge there to where they could get down to the dogs pretty easy. And then they'd park their Jeep and they'd ease down that holler to where the dogs had something treed at. Well, when they got out of the Jeep on top of this ridge, one of them noticed, hey, what's that light moving around up there above the mountain? What are you talking about? They said. There wasn't no light up there moving around. That was just the moon. And it was a cloudy night too, they said. But no, there's a light up there. I seen it. Well, just in a few minutes, they all seen it. They come back down out of the clouds, eased around top of that mountain, moving around, and then went back up in the clouds. What in the world, they said. They come back out of the clouds, around top of the mountain again, easing his way around, back and forth across top of that mountain. And it finally stopped right above the mountain. Now, I remember them saying it made absolutely no sound at all. It was dead quiet. No sound at all coming from this light. At all. And it puzzled them. What in the world is that? Well, pretty soon a light come out of it, down to the top of the mountain. Like it was down in a holler or something. What in the world is that, they said. Well, pretty soon, he said, the light would go the other way. Like it was on the other side of the mountain or down in the hollers. Like it was searching for something. Well, they got to noticing the light was getting closer to them, easing around top of these ridges. So they got in the Jeep, but the Jeep wouldn't start. And they was panicking, because then that light was right on them. Here it was. Well, they abandoned that old Jeep, and they all scattered in them woods like just as fast as their feet would carry them, they said, every which direction down in them ridges. Didn't care, just getting away from there. And they looked back, and that light was coming right through the trees there, right where the Jeep where they was at. It sit there, as they said, for seemed like a minute or two, and then he'd ease on off down towards another holler across that ridge. They scared them to death, they said. And they watched it leave, and they waited a while. And when it wasn't coming back, they all got back in that old Jeep, but this time it started right back up. And they got out of there as quick as they can. They left them dogs in there for the night. They was on their own. As fast as that Jeep could get out of that old rough country, they said they got out of there. And it was a heck of a trip out of there too, but as fast as they could get it out of there. When these old guys down here at the store, I'd seen them in the store off and on all the time. And I know they wouldn't tell no stories like this, but this is what I heard one of them telling another one. And they was serious about it too. I could tell expressions on their face. That always amazed me, listening to my elders. Whether it be my grandparents or something tell me about haints or mysterious stories or unexplained things or whatever, always amazed me. And I've heard so many little old stories and witnessed some of them myself. Now these old light, I worked in mines over there for 17 years. I never seen no such a thing. I've heard some weird stuff, and I've seen some weird stuff in the mines, but I haven't seen no lights. Now I know a lot of you old hunters out here. You've hunted 30, 40, even 50 years in these old woods and these mountains in Appalachia. We've all seen something, or heard, or sensed something that just wasn't right in these mountains. So there is some weird experiences in these mountains that can't be explained. Man still don't know everything, and I'm a firm believer on that. So, I want to thank y'all for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little story, and I'll see you next time.